I'm Billy Kilkenny and I'm delighted to be joined on the line with world-renowned magician, mentalist and subconscious mind specialist. It's our very own Keith Barry. You're very welcome to Good Morning Dublin.
Thanks, Billy. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks for joining us this morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic, actually. Yeah, really good. Busy, lots of work going on. And look, just dealing with all the varying degrees of lockdown like everybody else, I suppose, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Keith, you have a very exciting Easter virtual public show this Saturday, the 3rd of April, which we're going to talk about. However, you recently spoke about a situation that happened to you last year where, due to the pandemic, all your upcoming shows were cancelled. And so you quickly flipped to virtual online shows. You described recently a process called massive action, which I found fascinating. Just for a bit of background, last year you wanted to stay relevant in the US. So you asked your US agent to get you on the Ellen DeGeneres show. And when he or she said, no, not a chance, the world and its mother are queuing up to get on the Ellen show, not a hope, you then took things into your own hands. Can you tell us about this process, massive action?
Yeah, so I talk about massive action with a lot of my clients. I also call it super activity mode as well. It's another label that I have for it. And when I say clients, I suppose a lot of your listeners will be familiar with me as being an entertainer, but many people probably wouldn't know I'm also a scientist, and I'm a mind coach / executive coach with a lot of business people and athletes. And I speak to them and I get them to follow a super activity mode. So basically, you know, when the pandemic hit, I had to figure it out like a lot of businesses do. And ultimately, I pivoted online pretty quickly, I suppose. And you're right. I rang my agent, Bill Gersh. He's one of the bigger agents out there. And I rang Bill and I said, look, Bill, I want to, obviously keep my profile high out in the States while this is all going on. So let's start with the Ellen DeGeneres show, because I'd been on Ellen before, but it had been 13 years since my last appearance. So, everything had changed in that time. In other words, I didn't know anybody in the Ellen organization. So I thought he'd be able to pull it off. And his reaction was straight away impossible. Now, look, I remember many years ago where I saw Audrey Hepburn, actually, where she split the word impossible into I'm possible. And it's so interesting to me that literally a single word can change your mindset. So when I heard Audrey Hepburn splitting that word impossible into I'm possible, every single time I hear the word impossible, I see it now as I'm possible. So when he said it's impossible to get on, I took that as a challenge straight away. So I bypassed him and I started by sending out it was 30 emails the first week and about 12 phone calls to people in the Ellen DeGeneres organization that I'd found just online. So I just Googled them, LinkedIn, all these different places. And ultimately I got no response. And most people, I suppose, would stop right there. Most entertainers, most business people would just stop because, it's a lot of work, 42 points of contact and getting no response. But then I just waited a week. I sent out another 30 emails, made more phone calls, no response. Then I waited another week. And then ultimately I sent out 96 emails and 44 phone calls is what it took just to get a response. So that didn't mean I was on the show. That was just to get a response from somebody. And then I had to pitch virtually, of course, to be on Ellen DeGeneres. And then it happened October last year. I was on Ellen. And what was great about that for me is just from a profile standpoint, I ended up getting, I would approximate about 30 virtual gigs from that one performance on the Ellen show. So that was kind of like, I suppose, an example of what massive action looks like for me. But look, my life is defined, if you like, by super activity mode and massive action. So during the summer then, to let people know, to let businesses know and companies know that we were performing online, I then spent the summer when everybody else, I suppose, was painting the fence and cutting the grass. I spent the whole of the summer with my executive assistant sending out 5,000 emails. And when I say 5,000, I actually mean exactly 5,000 emails we sent out over the summer to pre-existing customers, and then also lead generation and prospecting new customers.
That's amazing. And do you think does that involve the creative visualization that you talk about as well? Are they connected? With the massive action.
Visualization is connected with everything that I do. So I suppose the visualization comes first. So for me, I creatively visualize every single day for about 15 minutes. And, I suppose in the last 20 years or so, there'd be a lot of hesitancy around things such as creative visualization. It's really only the last 3 years, where people have actually really copped on that this is real stuff. There's a science behind it. In other words, the neurology of your brain changes when you creatively visualize, and it's far different than the law of attraction. So look, if you're going to sit in your front living room and creatively visualize a Lamborghini landing outside your front door, I don't necessarily think a Lamborghini is going to land outside your front door. But if you creatively visualize whatever your goals, your targets, your dreams are, and then couple that with massive action, then you're more than likely inclined to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. So I've got a formula that I follow, which is W plus MA times ATT equals GS. So the W is your why. If you know your why, if you know your purpose in life, if you add in then massive action and you multiply that times your attitude, which involves your creative visualization, equals GS. And GS is guaranteed success. And that's a large and bold claim, but I can stand behind it because ultimately, any of the clients that I work with who follow that formula, they all are successful people. But it doesn't come from sitting at home just wishful thinking. Yeah. It comes from creative visualization coupled with that massive action. Now, you can only do super activity mode. I recommend it for up to kind of 3 months, and then you have to take the foot off the gas a little bit because, look, you can burn out by doing that. And I'm fully aware of that. So you have to kind of measure it and gauge it for yourself. But what I would say to people just listening today is, think today about what are bigger points of action that you could take tomorrow that you wouldn't have done unless you'd heard me or you just speaking right now on this program. Because I think a lot of people obviously are distracted and distraught and rightly angry about what's going on. But if you take a step back and decide what massive action that you can take, whether that's creating a new business, whether it's pivoting your current business online, whether it's just, I suppose, being flexible with your business, whatever it is that it takes. For me, I had to start a new business. This was not something that I was already pre-existingly doing. Yeah. And a lot of my contemporaries who your listeners would know, who you would know, they're still kind of just waiting it out because they couldn't figure it out. But I think they can figure it out if they just put deep, meaningful thought into what they can do. And then, as I said, creative visualization, though, is key for me. So that comes first and coupled with massive action.
Yeah, it had a huge effect on me. And I, when I was listening to when you were mentioning about massive action, I said to myself, well, it's given me the balls now to contact Keith Barry and ask him to, and it happened. So it actually can, if you focus on something, it can happen. And thankfully you're just a really nice guy and you got back to me. So,
well, here's the thing for you, just on that, right? So I put up a LinkedIn post a couple of days ago, so people can check it out. I literally just put up corporate nonsense, and that was kind of me being polite about it, right? So I've dealt with a lot of companies over the past year, a lot of great companies, and ultimately, with a new business, you got to get quotes, you got to get endorsements. But there was some companies that I performed for where I knew that what I did was a hit. In other words, we got some very nice emails back afterwards. They were happy with the professionalism of the service and so on. And I just very nicely asked them, look, is there any chance we can just get a quote from you, either from my website or LinkedIn? And the answer straight away would be a blanket, no, our corporate policy doesn't allow it for anything, right? So I thought that's really bad, right? It's really bad because imagine if you're a corporate that sells, I don't know, a piece of software, right? And none of your consumers or customers, imagine if your consumer or your individual customer had a policy themselves that they wouldn't talk about that product. Okay, that software would never be known and would never be sold around the world. But yet internally, they've got a corporate policy that states that they can't endorse anything at all that perhaps has benefited them or their brand or their employees. Yeah. And that to me is a real serious issue and problem. So for me, look, my time is always stretched because I've got a lot going on right now. So, I'm not one of these people who's sitting at home being bored or wondering what to do next. Like my average working day is kind of 14 to 18 hours a day. But I get a request from somebody like yourself who I haven't spoken to before. I always, if I can, will reach back out and try and help people and assist people. It doesn't always work out. I'm not going to say that it does.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just don't have the time. You just can't help everybody. But for me, it is so important to give back. Yeah. And, I give back by mentoring other magicians. I remember when I was young, there was a lot of magicians that I reached out to, and one in particular, actually, when I was just 12. And he told me it was a closed shop. In other words, that he wasn't going to help me. But that actually had an amazing effect on my life in the opposite way. So now for me, I'm willing to help as much as I can. And you just have to be careful, I suppose, manage that time as well.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And like, obviously, I think our listeners, especially in Dublin City FM, through this pandemic fatigue, I think everyone's feeling, the idea of massive action is a very exciting prospect. As we're locked in, obviously, most people would not be trying to get on the Ellen show, but I think massive action could be utilised for targeting any goals. Are you still practicing the cold showers inspired by Wim Hof, the Iceman?
Yeah, no, absolutely am. So, like, I have cold showers every single day. I covered the Iceman a couple of years ago before he was hugely popular as he is now. Actually, weirdly enough, when you talk about you reaching out to me, I reached out to Wim not so long ago to try and get him on my new YouTube series. But I haven't managed to bag him yet, so I might have to try it a few different angles. I think that's because my YouTube series it's only just started, so it's only getting a couple of hundred views per take. So,
and what's this series called?
It's the Keith Barry Brain Hacker series, but I've got some great guests up there, some amazing insights into their brains. So, for example, your listeners will know a lot of the guests that are already up. So I just uploaded Suzanne Jackson a few days ago, the influencer, and fashionista then, but I've also got like Rory Best up there, ex-Ireland rugby captain, as we know. Keith Earls is coming next week. Sean McGuire, the Hollywood actor. Ed Solomon, who wrote Bill and Ted and Now You See Me. So a whole host of different faces and names that people would know, and it's an insight into their brains, and I also perform for them as well. Actually, on that note, look, I've got an envelope here. There's a little blue dot on it, okay? So it's sealed. It's a sealed envelope. If you were here, you would hold on to this, but obviously we have to do this virtually. If we ever meet, I can do this for you in person. But you can see the envelope there. You can't get in or out of the envelope. So here's the idea. When you talk about creative visualization and also influence, so Suzanne Jackson, for example, is a huge influencer online, right? So the question I have for you is, do you believe that you can be subliminally influenced?
Yes.
Yes, but you weren't so sure there. So I'm going to say three things to you. And when I say these three things, I want you to say a random word. So in other words, if I say to you cat, I don't want you to just automatically say dog. I want you to say something that has nothing to do with the three words that I say to you. All I ask is that it's a single word though. So I'm going to say three things to you. Elephant.
Giraffe.
Oh, no, I was going to say three things first. And then you say a word, okay? But actually, giraffe is interesting. So you can stick with giraffe if you want. Or we can go again and I can say the three words and then you could say something else. Your choice.
I'll go again.
We'll go again. Okay, so I'm going to say three words and then I want you to say a word out loud, okay? So, I'll say this. Giraffe, pizza, pasta.
Broccoli.
Broccoli. Okay, now here, I have a question for you. A lot of people don't like their broccoli. Do you like broccoli or no?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay, but do you believe I could have influenced you by saying those words to then you come up with the word broccoli?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, look, my hands are absolutely empty. Just for your listeners, your viewers, I know you're going to pop this up online, but look, the envelope is here. It's been in full view the whole time. I'll just get the sticker open here. And I want you to know, about an hour ago, I wrote something down. I put it inside the envelope, and I'll hold it right up to the camera there. Can you see that little piece of paper in there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, if you were here, you would take this out, but obviously you're not, so I'll take it out for you. Okay, and this piece of paper here, I just want you to read out loud, please, exactly what this says.
Billy will say broccoli. That is insane. What?
Billy was saying broccoli. There you go.
That's just made my hands really sweat. What? That is insane. Because giraffe was the first thing. And then what? I don't understand how you do that at all. That is amazing. That is amazing. Keith, you have a show coming up this Saturday, the 3rd of April. Obviously we can see what people can expect, but how can they view it or, get tickets?
Yeah, so tickets are up on eventbrite.ie. It is going to be my last public show for a while, simply because I've got a whole bunch of other projects that I'm working on right now. So it's going to be a long time before I do another public show again. So yeah, it's 70-minute virtual experiences this coming Saturday at 7 p.m. Tickets are up on eventbrite.ie. Now, there's a little area in eventbrite.ie on checkout which says enter promo code. If you stick in the word Easter in there, all in caps, just the word Easter,
excellent.
get €10 off a ticket. So that's a nice discount just for your listeners.
Brilliant. Yeah.
€10 off a ticket, which brings the ticket price down to about $17.55. And one ticket will suffice for the whole family. So, it's only a couple of euros per person if you look at it that way. So yeah, we're going to have a couple of hundred families coming along. Really excited. It's a fully immersive interactive experience, by the way. So if you do come along, then you will be involved in the show at some point, which is a lot of fun for people,
Oh, that sounds amazing. I'm still kind of shocked over that broccoli moment. Keith, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Fascinating insights into massive action, an amazing process to do in order to achieve your goals. And again, our listeners can use the promo code Easter for Keith's Easter show this Saturday and 3rd of April. And the website is Eventbrite.
Yeah, eventbrite.ie, yeah.
Keith, you're a gentleman. Thank you so much. You've made my week.
Good to see you. Eat your broccoli.